Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Please, settle in. Let your body find a position of comfort, a position of ease. There's nothing you need to do right now, nowhere you need to go. Just for these moments we share, let the world outside soften into a gentle hum. Notice the feeling of your own breath. Don't change it. Don't judge it. Just follow its natural rhythm, in and out. This simple awareness, this gentle landing in the here and now, is the foundation of everything we'll explore together. It's not a special state. It's your natural state, when you stop reaching for the past or leaning into the future. It's the quiet space from which all of the Buddha's wisdom gently unfolds. I'd like to begin with a story. It's about a master woodcarver, a man renowned across the valleys for the exquisite bowls he would create from single blocks of maple or cherry. People would wait years for one of his pieces. A young apprentice, eager to learn, watched him for months. The master's movements were slow, deliberate, almost meditative. One day, frustrated by his own clumsy attempts, the apprentice burst out, "Master, what is the secret? How do you find the perfect bowl hidden inside the wood?" The old man put down his chisel and gestured to a rough block of oak. "The secret," he said softly, "is not in finding the bowl. The secret is in removing everything that is not the bowl. Your mind is like this block of wood, full of splinters of worry, knots of old anger, rough grains of desire. The peace you seek isn't something you need to build or find. It's already there, underneath. It's what remains when you gently, patiently, stop adding more stuff to it. My carving is just a practice of subtraction, of quiet listening. So is the real practice. This is the profound and simple heart of the Buddhist path. It's not about acquiring new beliefs, or achieving spectacular states. It's a process of gentle unveiling. Of learning the art of subtraction, subtracting our habitual reactions, our clinging, our resistance, to reveal the innate clarity and peace that is our true nature. The Buddha didn't come to give us something we lack. He came to point out what we have forgotten. If this way of seeing, as a gentle removal rather than a frantic addition, resonates with you, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Monk's Moon Temple. By joining our community, you plant a seed of regular remembrance, a gentle bell that calls you back to your own inner woodcarver, patiently clearing away what isn't needed. Now, let's continue. We often think of peace as a destination, a place we get to when all our problems are solved. But what if peace is not a place at all, but a manner of traveling? A way of walking through the storm without becoming the storm. I remember, years ago, walking through a dense forest with an old teacher. A sudden, cold rain began to pour, the kind that soaks you to the bone in seconds. I hurried, hunched over, grumbling internally, seeking shelter. My teacher, however, simply stopped walking. He stood still, turned his face up to the gray sky, and spread his arms slightly. A slow smile spread across his face. When we finally reached a dry overhang, I asked, bewildered, "Weren't you uncomfortable?" He wrung out his sleeve, still smiling. The first drop was a shock. Cold. An invasion. My mind said, this shouldn't be happening. We must run. But then I remembered, I am not made of sugar. I will not dissolve. This is just water. This is just the sky doing what it does. The suffering was in the hunching, in the grumbling, in the war with the weather. When I stopped the war, there was just sensation. Cold, wet sensation. And within that, aliveness. He looked at me. You spent that walk in a miserable story about rain. I spent it feeling the rain. We had the same experience, but very different journeys. This is a core teaching of the Buddha, the distinction between pain and suffering. Pain, physical or emotional, is an inevitable part of this human life. It is the first drop of rain. Suffering, however, is what we add, the story of injustice, the frantic resistance, the hunching of the soul. It's the voice that says, this shouldn't be. That voice is optional. The practice is to meet the rain, the pain, the loss, the disappointment, with a curious, open awareness, rather than a narrative of war. In that meeting, something shifts. The experience may still be difficult, but it is no longer compounded by inner rebellion. Let's explore this with an original story about a river and two swimmers. The river was wide and powerful, flowing steadily east toward a great waterfall. Two swimmers found themselves caught in the current, being swept toward the drop. The first swimmer began to fight with all his might. He thrashed against the current, tried to swim directly back upstream, exhausting himself, filled with panic and rage at the river's pull. The second swimmer, after a moment of initial fear, stopped struggling. She turned onto her back, let her body float, and began to calmly assess the riverbanks. She wasn't trying to conquer the current. She was trying to understand it. By conserving her energy and observing, she noticed a slower eddy near the northern bank, a circular current that could carry her toward a rocky outcrop. With a few deliberate, calm strokes, she entered the eddy and pulled herself to safety. The first swimmer, exhausted from his battle, was swept over the falls. The river is the flow of life, with its inevitable difficulties and challenges. Our instinct is often to be the first swimmer. To fight, to resist, to exhaust ourselves against realities we cannot change. The Buddha's way is the second swimmer. It is the wisdom of stopping the struggle first. It is floating in awareness, conserving your energy, and from that place of calm observation, discerning the skillful action, if any exists. Sometimes the skillful action is simply floating, letting the current carry you until its nature changes. This isn't passivity. It is intelligent, mindful engagement with reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. This ability to float in awareness brings us to the teaching of impermanence, or anicca. We often hear this as a somber fact, everything changes. But from the perspective of the floating swimmer, this is the most hopeful news imaginable. Imagine you are in a dark room. A painful, difficult feeling has you in its grip. It feels solid, permanent, like the walls of a prison. The teaching of anicca is like striking a match. In that sudden, small light, you see the walls are not solid stone. They are made of rushing water. They are the river itself. What feels so fixed and oppressive is, by its very nature, flowing, moving, changing. The difficult emotion is a pattern of energy in the body and mind. Watch it with the gentle attention of the floating swimmer. Don't fight it. Just feel its shape, its temperature, its movement. You will see it shift. It may intensify, it may fade, it may change into something else. It cannot hold a permanent form, because nothing can. The Buddha pointed to this not to make us feel insignificant, but to free us from the terror of permanence. The storm does not last all season. The pain does not last a lifetime. The river is always moving. Your awareness is the sky that holds the weather, and the sky, too, changes from dawn to dusk to starlight. This constant flow is not your enemy. It is the nature of your liberation. When you realize the walls are water, you stop trying to break them down. You learn to float, or swim, or find the eddy. Now, let's take this understanding of the flowing river and bring it into the very heart of who we think we are. We operate most of our lives with a silent assumption that there is a fixed, solid me at the center of it all. A commander who is sometimes failing, a character in a story that is sometimes going well, sometimes going poorly. Buddhism gently, but profoundly, questions this assumption. I'd like to tell you a story about an ancient clockmaker. He was famous for crafting the most intricate timepieces, filled with hundreds of tiny, interlocking gears. He would often say, "The secret of the clock is the self of the clock, the mainspring, the essential I that drives all the other parts." One day, a curious philosopher visited his workshop. The clockmaker proudly showed him a magnificent clock, ticking away. "There," he said, pointing to the mainspring. "The self. The doer." The philosopher smiled and asked, "And what moves the mainspring?" "Why, the tension I wound into it," said the clockmaker. "And what moves your hand to wind it?" asked the philosopher. "My intention, my will," replied the clockmaker. "And what gives rise to that intention?" The clockmaker paused. The philosopher continued, "Is it hunger? A memory of your teacher? The light from the window allowing you to see? The sound of the bell that told you it was time to work?" The clockmaker stood silently, looking at his clock. He saw the mainspring, but he also saw it was turned by a gear, which was turned by another, all dependent on the winding key, which was dependent on his hand, his mind, his history, the sunlight, the air in the room. There was no single, independent self of the clock to be found. There was a beautiful, dependent, interiorizing process. The ticking was the result of countless causes and conditions dancing together. The clockmaker's search for a separate, central self had blinded him to the miraculous, interconnected dance that was actually happening. The Buddhist teaching of anatta, or not self, is this insight applied to our own being. You are not a solid, separate entity like a marble statue. You are a flowing, interdependent process, more like a river or a flame. A flame is not a thing you can grab. It's an event. It's heat, light, and fuel in a dynamic, changing relationship. Where is the self of the flame? Is it the heat? The light? The fuel? It is all of it, and none of it, exclusively. You are like that. You are a flowing process of body, sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness, all dependent on food, air, relationships, memories, the planet. There is no permanent, unchanging core to be found when you look closely. This is not a loss. It is a breathtaking liberation. It means the heavy burden of being a solid, fragile me that can be damaged, that must be defended, that can permanently succeed or fail, that burden is based on a misunderstanding. You are not a statue. You are a dance. When you see this, a deep relaxation becomes possible. You can experience fear without becoming a fearful person. You can fail at a task without becoming a failure. These are just passing weather patterns in the vast sky of your awareness. The clockmaker, after his realization, didn't stop making clocks. He began to make them with even more wonder, hearing the tick not as the output of a lonely self, but as the joyful song of an entire universe coming together in that one fleeting moment of sound. This understanding naturally leads to a different way of being in the world. With compassion, or karuna. If there are no truly separate, solid selves, then the line between my suffering and your suffering begins to soften. Let me share a personal anecdote. Early in my practice, I volunteered at a hospice. I thought my job was to be strong, to offer wisdom, to somehow absorb or fix the palpable sorrow in the rooms. I would leave each day emotionally drained, heavy, carrying the grief like a sack of stones. I spoke to my teacher about this fatigue. He asked, "When you sit with someone who is in pain, what are you trying to do?" "I'm trying to help," I said. "To take some of it away." He shook his head gently. "You are trying to drink the ocean to save the fish. You cannot absorb another's pain. That is not compassion, that is identification, and it leads to burnout. True compassion is not sharing the pain. It is offering a fearless, spacious presence in which the pain can exist. It is like being the clear, still pond that faithfully reflects the stormy sky, without becoming stormy itself. The pond does not try to change the sky. It simply provides a space where the sky can see itself. The next time I visited, I practiced this. I sat with a man who was afraid. Instead of anxiously searching for the right words to fix his fear, I simply settled into my own breath, grounded myself, and offered my quiet, undemanding attention. I didn't try to take his fear. I just made room for it. And something shifted. He felt the space, the non-judgmental allowance, and he began to speak more freely. I left feeling connected, not drained. I had learned to be the pond, not the drinker of oceans. This is the compassion the Buddha taught. It is a boundless, intelligent kindness that knows boundaries. It understands that the greatest gift you can often give is not a solution, but a sanctuary of presence. Your peaceful presence is a refuge. It says, "I am here with you in this. You are not alone in this storm. We can be in it together, without drowning each other." But how do we cultivate this kind of unshakable, compassionate presence when our own inner world is in turmoil? This brings us to the heart of meditation, not as an escape, but as a homecoming. Imagine you have a very old, precious cup. It's been in your family for generations. It's chipped, stained, and cracked. You are so afraid of breaking it completely that you never use it. You keep it locked in a cabinet, and you feel a pang of guilt and anxiety every time you look at it, a symbol of your inability to care for something fragile. One day, a wise friend visits. You show her the cup, apologizing for its condition. She doesn't see damage. She sees history. She asks, "May I use it?" With trepidation, you agree. She carefully washes it, fills it with tea, and hands it to you. "Feel its warmth," she says. You hold it. The heat from the tea seeps into the cracks. The stains are part of its story. In that moment, you are not avoiding the cup, you are using it, communing with it. Its imperfections are not flaws to be hidden, they are the very reason it can hold the warmth so intimately. Your relationship to it transforms from fear to grateful use. Your mind is that cup. Meditation is not about locking it away to protect it from its own cracks and stains. Its wandering thoughts, its difficult emotions. That is suppression, and it creates anxiety. True meditation is the warm, gentle act of using it. of holding it with awareness, of pouring the warm tea of your attention into it, feeling how that attention seeps into the cracks of worry, the stains of old memory. You are not trying to get a perfect, unchipped mind. You are learning to have a relationship with the mind you have. A relationship of kind, curious, present moment use. In that relationship, everything, the chip of anxiety, the stain of sadness, becomes part of the holding, not a reason to lock the whole thing away. The Buddha's path of meditation is this radical inclusion. You come home to all of it, not just the pretty parts. And in that coming home, you find you are already whole. We've spoken of meeting experience as it is, of understanding the flowing, interconnected nature of things. Yet, life continually presents us with sharp edges. Loss, injustice, betrayal, illness. How do we meet these without building walls of bitterness or collapsing into despair? The Buddhist tradition offers a powerful, often misunderstood, quality, equanimity, or upekkha. Let me tell you an original story. In a coastal village, there was an old fisherman known for his uncanny ability to predict the weather. Villagers would ask, "Will it storm tomorrow? Should we take the boats out?" He would look at the sky, the sea, the birds, and often give advice. But what truly baffled them was his demeanor. Whether he predicted a bountiful catch or a dangerous gale, his inner weather remained the same, calm, steady, quietly engaged. One day, a devastating storm he had warned about destroyed many boats, though those who heeded him were safe. The next week, he predicted perfect conditions, and the fleet returned overflowing with fish. A young man, observing the fisherman's unchanged composure through both tragedy and triumph, finally asked him, "How can you be so unmoved? Don't you rejoice in the good or grieve the bad?" The old fisherman put down his nets. "My son," he said, "I am not unmoved. I feel the grief for the lost boats deeply. I feel the joy for the full nets warmly. But I am like the deep ocean floor. On the surface, there are storms and calm, crashing waves and gentle swells. The surface must be what it is. But the floor does not thrash with the storm nor dance wildly with the calm. It remains, providing a foundation. Because it is steady, it can support life through all the surface changes. My feelings are the surface waves. My awareness, my care, is the ocean floor. If I became only the storm of grief, I could not help rebuild. If I became only the dance of joy, I would forget to respect the sea's next mood. I am not indifferent. I am anchored. This is upekkha. It is not cold detachment or emotional flatness. It is the profound, unshakable balance of heart that allows us to feel the full range of human emotion without being capsized by any of it. It is the foundation that makes wise, compassionate action possible. The Buddha taught this as a grand, sublime, and limitless abiding. It is the mental state that looks upon gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, with the same steady, clear eyes. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means your caring is rooted in something deeper than the fleeting conditions of the moment. You can act effectively in a crisis because you are not lost in the panic. You can savor joy fully because you are not already clinging to it, fearing its end. This balance is sorely tested by one of our most persistent habits, worry. We project ourselves into imagined futures and live there, suffering now for things that may never happen. I recall a man who came to a retreat, his mind a whirlwind of anxiety about his business. He couldn't sleep, couldn't meditate, haunted by what-if scenarios. During a walking period, I pointed to a large, ancient pine tree. "See that tree?" I said. "For 300 years, it has stood here. It has survived droughts, blizzards, lightning strikes, insects. Do you think it spends its energy in spring worrying about the blizzard that might come next winter?" He almost smiled. "Of course not." "Where does its energy go?" I asked. He looked. "Into growing. Into being a tree right now." "Exactly," I said. "Worry is a form of mental time travel. It pulls energy from your present root system, your health, your clarity, your peace, to fuel an imaginary future. The tree doesn't do this. Its resilience lies in its total commitment to the present conditions, drawing water now, reaching for sun now, strengthening its trunk now. The best preparation for any future winter is to be deeply, fully alive this present spring." His task became, whenever he noticed the time travel of worry, to gently return to the tree of his present moment, the feeling of his feet on the ground, the sound in the room, the next breath. He wasn't denying real concerns, but he was refusing to let an imagined tomorrow rob today of its vitality. The Buddha called this right effort. It is the effort to nourish wholesome states. Like presence, like trust, and to gently let go of unwholesome ones, like paralyzing worry, when we see they have taken over. Often, what fuels our worry and disturbs our equanimity is our tight grip on how we think things should be. We hold a blueprint for life, and we suffer when reality builds something different. Here is a story about a master architect who designed a majestic city. He drew every street, every building, every park with meticulous perfection. When construction began, he was furious at every deviation. The stone for the library was a different shade. A garden was planted with the wrong flowers. A street had to curve around an ancient, sacred well he hadn't known about. He raged at the builders, the suppliers, the city elders. The stress made him ill. Confined to his bed, he could only watch from his window. One evening, as the sun set, he saw children playing in that wrong garden, their laughter floating up. He saw lovers strolling down the curved street, pausing at the old well to make a wish. He saw the library's different stone glowing warmly in the twilight. A deep peace settled over him. He had been worshipping the blueprint, while life was building a living city. The imperfections, the adaptations, the surprises were not errors. They were the city's soul emerging. He had been at war with life's creativity. The blueprint, he realized, was a starting point for conversation with reality, not a demand for its surrender. From his bed, he began to sketch again, not corrections, but celebrations of what had spontaneously arisen. How often do we play the furious architect with our own lives? We cling to the blueprint of our career, our relationship, our health, our spiritual progress. When life introduces a different colored stone, a necessary curve, an unexpected well, we suffer, believing something has gone wrong. The Buddha's teaching of non-attachment is an invitation to hold our plans lightly. It's not that we don't make plans. We lay the blueprint with care and intention. But we then engage in a compassionate, curious dialogue with the reality that emerges. We learn to appreciate the curve that reveals the sacred well we never knew was there. This flexible, responsive engagement is the heart of wisdom. It allows joy to be found not in the perfect match to our fantasy, but in the intimate, real contact with what is actually, wonderfully, here. This touches on another profound teaching, the middle way. The Buddha discovered this after years of extreme asceticism. He realized that neither indulgence in sensual pleasure nor severe self-denial led to freedom. The path was in the middle, a balanced, mindful engagement. Think of a musician tuning a stringed instrument. If the string is too loose, it produces no sound, no music. It is inert. If the string is drawn too tight, it strains, threatens to snap, and produces a shrill, unpleasant noise. But when the string is tuned to just the right tension, not too loose, not too tight, it becomes alive. It can resonate beautifully, can play a full range of notes, can join in harmony with other strings. Our lives are like that instrument. Too much slack. Indulgence, laziness, avoidance, and we feel dull, lifeless, adrift. Too much tension, striving, perfectionism, relentless self-criticism, and we feel brittle, anxious, ready to break. The middle way is the art of finding that precise, alive tension where we are fully engaged with life, caring deeply, acting wisely, yet without the clenching grip of obsession or the numb release of apathy. It is the tuning that allows the music of a wise and compassionate life to be played. Let's turn our attention to a force that shapes so much of our inner landscape, desire. Not just for objects, but for experiences, for states of being, for life to be a certain way. In the Buddha's teaching, desire, *tanha*, is the root of suffering. But this is often misunderstood. It is not that all wanting is bad. The desire to be kind, the desire to understand, the desire to ease suffering, these are noble. The tanha that binds us is the craving that comes with clinging, the demand that reality conform to our preferences, and the suffering that arises when it does not. I want to share a story about a gardener who loved roses. He wanted only the most perfect, scarlet blooms. He would spend hours pruning, feeding, and protecting his bushes. But nature, in its creativity, would sometimes send him a coral rose, or a rose with a hint of yellow at the center. He would see these not as gifts, but as failures. He would fret over them, try to force more red dye into the soil, and eventually, in disappointment, snip them off. His garden was often sparse, filled with the tension of his unmet demand. His neighbor also grew roses. She welcomed each bud with curiosity. A pale pink one was like a dawn sky. A striped one was playful. A small, simple white rose was pure and gentle. Her garden was a lush tapestry of color and form, and she walked in it daily with a heart full of delight. The first gardener's suffering didn't come from his love of roses. It came from his rigid, clinging desire for only one kind of rose. His neighbor had preferences, but she held them lightly, leaving room for wonder. She experienced the richness of the rose garden. He experienced only the lack of his perfect, red ideal. Our minds are like that garden. We have natural preferences. For comfort, for pleasure, for certain outcomes. Suffering arises not from the preferences themselves, but from the hardening of those preferences into demands. When we insist, it must be this way, or I cannot be happy, we set ourselves up for pain. The Buddha's path involves recognizing the moment when a simple preference, I'd enjoy some quiet, becomes a demanding craving, it must be quiet, and this noise is ruining everything. In that recognition is a point of freedom. You can soften the demand. You can notice the craving itself as a passing feeling of tightness in the mind. And you can open to the actual, textured garden of the present moment, which may contain both the unwanted noise and the warmth of your own breath. This is the practice of letting go, not of your values or your actions, but of the tight fist of craving around them. This leads us to a beautiful and practical concept, santuthi, or contentment. This is not a passive resignation, but a deep, active appreciation for what is sufficient, for what is already here. A personal memory comes to mind. In my early monastic days, during a period of strict retreat, our meals were extraordinarily simple: plain rice, boiled vegetables, water. After a few weeks, I found myself dreaming of flavors, of texture, of variety. I confessed this to my teacher, feeling it was a sign of my spiritual weakness. He listened and then said, "Let's conduct an experiment. At your next meal, I want you to eat just 1 grain of rice. But do not swallow it until you have truly known it." At the next meal, I took a single grain. I felt its slight weight on my tongue. I noticed its shape, its smooth surface. I bit down gently and experienced the sudden release of its starchy essence. I tasted it, a simple, sweet, earthy flavor I had completely overlooked when shoveling spoonfuls. In that 1 grain, I discovered a universe. My teacher smiled. Contentment is not getting everything you want. It is discovering the infinite depth and wonder of what you already have. A single grain of rice, fully known, can be a feast. A craving mind, with a full banquet, will still feel hungry. Contentment is the radical shift from seeking fulfillment in the next thing, to finding profound fulfillment in the deep, mindful encounter with this thing, this moment, this breath. The Buddha called it the greatest wealth. But how do we practice this when we are faced not with simple rice, but with genuine hardship, with injustice, with pain that seems to serve no purpose? This is where we must deepen our understanding. There is an ancient tale of a village that possessed a mysterious, uncut gemstone. It was jagged, rough, and dark, unremarkable to the eye. For generations, it sat on a shelf, considered a curiosity but not a treasure. Then a legendary gem cutter came through the village. The elders showed him the stone. He held it to the light, turned it slowly, and his eyes widened. "There is immense fire sleeping within this," he said. He set up his wheel and began the painstaking work of cutting facets. For days, the only sound was the grating of stone on stone. The villagers grew impatient, seeing only dust and noise. But when the cutter finally polished the last facet and held it up to the sun, the entire square was flooded with dazzling rays of red, blue, and violet light. The ugly stone had been a diamond all along, but it needed the precise, painful friction of the cutting wheel to reveal its hidden brilliance. Life's difficulties are often that cutting wheel. We experience the grinding, the friction, the sense of being worn down. In the moment, it feels like pure loss, pure pain. The spiritual path does not ask us to pretend the grinding doesn't hurt. It asks us to consider a radical possibility, that within this experience, perhaps a facet of our own diamond-like nature, our courage, our compassion, our resilience, our deep understanding, is being revealed. The hardship itself is not the treasure. But our conscious, mindful way of meeting it can uncover treasures within us we never knew we had. The Buddha didn't say suffering was good. He said suffering could be understood, and that within that understanding was the path to its end. Sometimes, the understanding itself is the first facet catching the light. This perspective helps us work with a particularly challenging emotion, regret. We look back at the past, at our mistakes, and we carry them like a shadow. Let me tell you a story about a scribe tasked with copying a sacred text onto a priceless scroll. Halfway through, his hand slipped, and a large blot of ink ruined a central passage. He was horrified. His first instinct was to discard the entire scroll, to hide his mistake. But the master scribe, seeing his distress, took the ruined scroll. He did not discard it. He sat with it for a long time. Then, with a fine brush and gold leaf, he began to work. He incorporated the ink blot into the illumination of a letter. He drew vines and flowers around it, making it the center of an exquisite, golden border. The mistake became the most beautiful part of the entire manuscript. The young scribe learned that wisdom is not a life without errors. Wisdom is the creative, compassionate art of integrating our errors into the greater beauty of our ongoing story. We cannot erase the blot. But we need not let it define the whole scroll. We can, with patience and care, learn from it and weave its lessons into the gold leaf of our present moment choices. The past is fixed, but our relationship to it is not. The Buddha's teaching of mindfulness is always about the freedom available in the now. The next brushstroke is always yours to make. All of this practice, meeting desire, finding contentment, working with difficulty, requires a certain kind of inner strength. Not the strength of a wall, but the strength of a bridge. Imagine a bridge built across a deep canyon. It does not resist the wind, it is designed to sway with it. It does not fight the weight of traffic, it bears it, distributes it, and springs back. Its strength lies in its flexibility, its intelligent design, its deep, anchored foundations. If it were rigid, the first strong wind would shatter it. Our inner resilience is like that. It is not about becoming so hard that nothing affects us. It is about developing the flexible strength of mindfulness, the anchored foundations of ethical living and compassion, and the intelligent understanding of cause and effect. This allows us to bear the weight of life's challenges, to sway with the winds of change, without collapsing. We become a bridge, not just for ourselves, but offering a way for others who are crossing their own difficult terrain. This is the true goal of the path. Not to escape the world, but to become a stable, compassionate, resilient presence within it, for the benefit of all. We often speak of the spiritual journey as one we undertake alone, in the quiet of our own hearts. Yet, one of the Buddha's most beautiful and practical gifts was the Sangha, the community. He did not teach that awakening was a solitary achievement to be won in isolation. He founded an order, a fellowship of practitioners, because he understood that we are relational beings. Our peace is cultivated, tested, and reflected in our connections with others. I recall a powerful lesson from my own training. During a long, silent retreat, I found myself in a state of quiet, blissful concentration. I felt a profound inner solitude, a self-contained peace. I thought, this is it. This is the goal. The next day, the schedule called for a period of communal work, washing dishes in the kitchen with others. My serene bubble popped immediately. The clatter of pots, someone splashing water, the simple, chaotic presence of other humans felt like an invasion. My peace, I realized, was conditional. It depended on perfect quiet and solitude. It was fragile. My teacher, seeing my frustration, said quietly, "The peace that cannot survive the sound of a dropped pot is not the peace we are looking for. Real peace is not a bubble. It is a foundation. It must be strong enough to hold not just your own stillness, but the beautiful, messy, clattering reality of other lives. The kitchen is your real meditation hall. The Sangha is that kitchen. It is where we practice not just mindfulness of breath, but mindfulness of relationship, of patience, of generosity, of forgiving the splash of water, of finding harmony in the shared task. This brings us to a cornerstone of ethical living in Buddhism, right speech. This is more than just not lying or gossiping. It is the practice of making our speech a gift. Let me share an original story. In a mountain town, there was a woman known for her sharp tongue. Her words could be witty, but they often left small wounds. She believed she was just being honest. One winter, a quiet glassblower moved into the town. He made exquisite, delicate figures. The woman, visiting his shop, criticized one piece for a slight asymmetry. "It's flawed," she said bluntly. The glassblower didn't defend his work. Instead, he invited her to his furnace the next day. He heated a gather of glass and handed her the blowpipe. "Try," he said. She tried to shape it, but it slumped, twisted, became a messy lump. Exhausted and frustrated, she handed it back. He smiled, took the misshapen lump, and with a few skilled turns, transformed it into a beautiful, abstract bird. "Words are like breath in the pipe," he said. "Unskillful breath makes a collapsed mess. Skillful breath brings forth shape and light. Your words have breath. What are you trying to shape?" He held up the bird. "This was your flawed piece. It is now something new, because I worked with what was there. Can your words work with what is in front of you, or do they only try to break it to match your idea of perfect?" The woman was silent. She had seen that truth spoken without care was destruction. Truth spoken with skill, with timing, with gentleness, with an intention to uplift, was an art form. It could shape understanding, not shatter dignity. The Buddha's teaching on right speech asks us to make our words like the glassblower's breath. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is this the right time? This kind of speech builds Sangha. It weaves connections instead of tearing them. Yet, in community, we inevitably encounter conflict, misunderstanding, and hurt. How do we hold this without building walls of resentment? This is the practice of forgiveness, which in Buddhism, is deeply tied to wisdom. Imagine two adjacent gardens separated by a low stone wall. One gardener, in a fit of anger, pushed over a section of the wall, and the stones crushed some precious plants in the other's garden. The injured gardener was furious. She could have retaliated, pushed more of the wall over. She could have built it twice as high and thick, forever cutting off her neighbor. Instead, after the storm of anger passed, she walked over to the pile of stones. She began, slowly, to sort them. Her neighbor, seeing her, came out, ashamed and silent. Without a word, they began to work together. They cleared the crushed plants. They rebuilt the wall, but this time, they left a small archway in it. They planted a climbing rose that would one day cover the arch. The wall, a symbol of separation and damage, became a shared structure with a doorway. The forgiveness was not in forgetting the crushed plants. It was in the conscious choice to rebuild together and to create an opening where there had only been a barrier. Forgiveness is not saying the action was acceptable. It is the courageous decision to stop the cycle of retaliation and to invest your energy in building something new, even if you build it alone on your side of the arch. It is the ultimate act of self-care, because it frees you from the prison of perpetual bitterness. The Buddha taught that hatred never ceases by hatred, hatred ceases by love. This is the ancient law. Forgiveness is that love in action, applied to a wound. It says, I will not let your past action dictate my present and future heart. Now, let's turn this compassionate gaze inward once more, to a place we often neglect, our relationship with our own body. In our quest for spiritual understanding, we can sometimes treat the body as a problem, a vessel of desires, or simply a thing we inhabit. I once met a veteran who had been severely injured. He spoke of his body with a kind of cold disdain, as a broken machine that had betrayed him. He lived mostly in his head, in memories and plans, disconnected from physical sensation except as pain. We began a very simple practice, feeling the contact of his feet with the floor. Not trying to change it, just feeling it. It was agonizingly slow. One day, while doing this, a shaft of sunlight fell across his hands in his lap. I asked him to simply feel the warmth. He closed his eyes. A tear traced down his cheek. I forgot, he whispered. I forgot it could just feel warm. That moment was a crack in the story of betrayal. It wasn't a cure, but it was a reconnection. The body was not a machine. It was a field of lived experience. Pain, yes, but also warmth, weight, texture. The Buddha's teaching of mindfulness of the body is a radical homecoming. It is not about perfecting the body, but about inhabiting it with kindness. It is listening to its messages, of tension, of fatigue, of ease, with the same respectful attention we might give to a dear friend. This body is your companion for this entire journey. It carries you. It feels the rain, the sun, the hug, the ground beneath your feet. To make peace with your life, you must first make peace with the vessel that is living it. This is not narcissism. It is the foundation of embodied compassion. How can you truly offer comfort to another if you are at war with the very flesh that allows you to offer a comforting hand? All of these strands, community, ethical speech, forgiveness, embodied presence, are woven together by one golden thread, intention, or satana. The Buddha said that intention is karma. It is the seed. The action is the flower. The result is the fruit. Think of a farmer planting a field in the spring. He cannot control the summer sun or the autumn rain. But he has absolute control over what seeds he places in the soil. He chooses, with intention, corn, or wheat, or wildflowers. The rest is up to conditions. Our minds are that field. Every moment, we are planting seeds of intention. A moment of irritation, nurtured into a thought of ill will, is a seed. A moment of noticing someone's struggle, met with a silent wish for their ease, is a seed. We may not see the fruit today or tomorrow. But the law of cause and effect is as reliable in the mind as it is in nature. The practice is to become a wise, compassionate farmer of your own inner landscape. Before you speak, pause and feel the seed of intention. Before you act, check the seed. Is it a seed of generosity, or of grasping? Of kindness, or of aversion? You cannot control all the outcomes of your actions. But you can take supreme care with the seeds you plant. This is your true power. This is how you build, moment by moment, the world of your own heart and, by extension, the world around you. The Buddha's path is, at its core, a path of intentional, wise, and compassionate seed planting. Let's explore a space that often feels most challenging, the landscape of our own thoughts. We can learn to meet sensations and emotions with mindfulness, but thoughts have a persuasive power. They spin stories, craft identities, build entire worlds of past regret and future anxiety. We get so lost in the movie that we forget we're sitting in the theater. I'd like to tell you an original story about a village built on the edge of a vast, silent desert. At the center of the village was an old, ornate projector. Every night, the villagers would gather, and the projector would cast magnificent, dramatic stories onto a great screen of mist that rose from the desert coolness. The stories were so gripping, full of heroes, villains, tragedies, and romances, that the villagers would completely forget they were in a village. They would weep, cheer, and argue as if the dramas were real. One night, a stranger arrived. He watched the film for a while, then turned his head and saw the projector, its gears turning, its light shining. He walked over and touched it. A villager hissed, "Don't. You'll ruin the story." But the stranger, curious, gently turned a knob. The image on the mist softened, blurred. He saw the light beam itself, cutting through the dark. In that moment, he was no longer lost in the drama. He was aware of the mechanism creating it. He had discovered the source. From then on, he could still enjoy the stories, but he was never again trapped by them. He knew their nature. He knew he was in a village, watching a play of light. Our thinking mind is that projector. It takes the raw data of experience and spins it into narratives about who we are, what's happening, and what it all means. Mindfulness is the act of turning your head to see the projector. It is noticing the thought as a mental event. Here is the "I'm a failure" story starting up. Here is the "what if" worry film beginning to play. You don't have to stop the projector, that's often impossible. But you can know it's a projector. This simple shift in perspective. From being lost in the thought to being aware of the thought, is revolutionary. It creates space. In that space, you have a choice, to believe the drama and be swept away, or to acknowledge it as a passing show of light and mist, and return your attention to the solid ground of your breath, your body, the actual present moment. The Buddha's teaching is an invitation to become the awareness that knows the movie is playing, not the actor who is forever trapped on the screen. This awareness is what allows us to work with one of the most common and painful thought patterns, self-judgment. The inner critic can be a relentless voice. I remember a student who was a brilliant musician but was paralyzed by performance anxiety. His inner critic was a vicious conductor, pointing out every imagined flaw. He tried to argue with it, to silence it, which only gave it more energy. I suggested a different approach. Next time you practice, I said, invite the critic to sit in the front row. Give it a notepad. Let it write all its criticisms. Your job is not to obey it or fight it. Your job is to simply play the music. Acknowledge its presence. The critic is here, writing furiously, and keep your attention on the feel of the instrument, the sound of the notes. He tried it. At first, the critic's voice was loud. But because he wasn't fighting it, it gradually became background noise, like the sound of a pencil scratching on paper. It lost its power to hijack his attention. He discovered that the critic was just another part of the mental movie, not the director of his reality. He could play alongside his self-doubt, rather than being frozen by it. The path isn't about creating a perfect, silent mind. It's about developing a peaceful, spacious relationship with all the mind's activity, even the difficult parts. From this place of mindful relationship with our inner world, we can engage more skillfully with the outer world. This brings us to the practice of generosity, or dana. In Buddhism, generosity is considered the foundation of the path, the first step in weakening the grip of me and mine. But true generosity is more than just giving things. It is an attitude, an orientation of the heart. There's a tale of a very poor woman who lived in a tiny hut. She had almost nothing, a bowl, a mat, a threadbare shawl. One bitterly cold night, a shivering traveler knocked on her door asking for shelter. She had no food to offer, no extra blanket. She stood in the doorway, looking at her only possessions. Then she did something remarkable. She invited the traveler in, filled her only bowl with water from the jug, and gave it to him to drink. She then took her shawl and tore it in two, giving him half to wrap around his shoulders. She had given what she had, shelter, water, half her warmth. The traveler, who was in truth a wise teacher in disguise, later said, "I have received gifts from kings, chests of gold, palaces. But no gift has ever been greater than the gift of that torn shawl." It was not a portion of her wealth, it was a portion of her very security, given freely. That is the generosity that changes the giver. In giving away half her protection, she discovered she was unbreakably connected to another human being. She was no longer just a poor woman in a hut. She was a sanctuary. This is the spirit of dana. It is the understanding that we are part of an interconnected whole. Giving is not a loss, it is a recognition of relationship. It weakens the illusion of a separate, needy self. Every act of genuine generosity, whether it's a material gift, your time, your forgiveness, or simply your full attention, is a stitch that mends the torn fabric of separation. The Buddha placed such emphasis on it because he knew you cannot cling tightly to what's mine and be free at the same time. Generosity is the practical, joyful training in letting go. Now, let's consider a quality that blossoms from this interconnected view, appreciative joy, or mudita. Taking delight in the happiness and success of others. Imagine two gardeners whose plots are side by side. One gardener's roses bloom spectacularly early one year, big and fragrant. The other gardener's roses are slower, smaller. The second gardener has a choice. She can look at her neighbor's blooms with envy, feeling her own garden is diminished. She can turn away in resentment. Or, she can walk over, genuinely admire the beautiful flowers, and feel her own heart lifted by their beauty. She can say, "How marvelous! Look at that color." In that moment, her world expands. She gets to enjoy two gardens, her own, and her neighbor's. Envy shrinks our world, it says happiness is a limited resource and your gain is my loss. Mudita expands our world, it says happiness is limitless and can be shared without being divided. Your beautiful rose does not make my rose less beautiful, it adds to the total beauty of the street. The Buddha taught this as an antidote to jealousy. It is a muscle of the heart that can be consciously strengthened. When you hear good news for someone else, pause and consciously allow a feeling of gladness to arise. How wonderful for them! This is not fake. It is a choice to align with abundance rather than scarcity. It is a declaration that your well-being is not threatened by the well-being of others. In fact, it is enhanced by it. This expansive heart is what allows us to face the ultimate realities of life. Aging, sickness, and death. These are not failures of the spiritual path, they are its final, most profound teachers. I will share a story about an old, gnarled tree that stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean. For centuries, storms had battered it, stripping its branches, twisting its trunk. To most, it looked like a symbol of struggle and decay. But to the sailors at sea, it was a beloved landmark. They called it the Guardian. Its stark, unmoving silhouette against the sky was the first sign of home, the proof they had navigated the treacherous currents correctly. What looked like brokenness from one perspective was, from another, unwavering guidance and a promise of safe harbor. Our own aging, our illnesses, our mortality, they are like that weathering. From the inside, it can feel like loss, like diminishment. But from the perspective of a life fully lived, these processes give our existence its poignant beauty, its depth, They are the landmarks of a human journey. The Buddha did not ask us to deny these realities or call them illusions. He asked us to look at them directly, with clear, compassionate awareness. To make peace with them is not to give up on life, but to stop wasting life fighting the inevitable. It is to understand that the cliff tree is most itself in its weathered, steadfast presence. In that understanding, a profound freedom is found. You stop clinging to the branch that is meant to fall, and you appreciate the sheer miracle of the tree standing at all. You begin to live not in spite of death, but in its wise presence, which makes every moment precious, every connection sacred. There is a quiet, transformative practice that sits at the very center of the Buddha's path, yet it is often overlooked in favor of more active techniques. It is the practice of listening. Not just with the ears, but with the whole being, a receptive, open, non-judgmental presence. This is the foundation of wisdom. I'd like to tell you a story about a renowned sage who lived in a cave above a bustling town. People would climb the difficult path to seek his advice for their problems. He never offered solutions. Instead, he would listen. He would listen with such profound stillness and attention that people often found, in the space of that listening, their own answers rising to the surface. One day, a cynical merchant decided to test him. He fabricated a complex, nonsensical problem full of contradictions and went to the sage. He ranted for a long time. The sage listened, his eyes soft, his presence unwavering. When the merchant finished, breathless, the sage simply nodded gently and remained silent. The merchant waited, then grew impatient. "Well, what is your wisdom? What should I do?" The sage smiled. I have heard the problem you presented. But I am still listening for you. The man who climbed the mountain is not the same man who spoke just now. Speak again, but this time, listen to yourself as I am listening." Frustrated, the merchant began to repeat his fabricated tale. But under the weight of that deep, silent listening, his own words began to sound hollow. He stumbled, hesitated, and finally fell silent. In that silence, a real problem, a deep loneliness he had been carrying for years, welled up in his heart, and he began to weep. The sage's listening had not been for the story, but for the storyteller. It had created a sanctuary true enough to hold even the truth the man was hiding from himself. We can practice this kind of listening inwardly. We spend so much time talking to ourselves, planning, judging, worrying. But how often do we truly listen to ourselves? To the subtle ache beneath the anxiety? To the longing beneath the boredom? To the stillness beneath the chatter? Meditation, at its deepest, is this inner listening. It is not about achieving a state, but about creating a silent, welcoming space within your own awareness where every part of you can finally be heard without fear of judgment or suppression. When you listen to your own breath this way, you are hearing the rhythm of life itself. When you listen to a feeling of sadness, you are offering it the dignity of acknowledgement. This inner listening is the root of self-compassion and the seed of genuine insight. The Buddha's awakening began not with an answer, but with a deep, relentless questioning and a willingness to listen, to his body, his mind, and the nature of reality itself, with unprecedented honesty. From this place of deep listening, we can approach one of the most subtle and powerful Buddhist concepts, emptiness, or sunyata. This is often misunderstood as nihilism, the idea that nothing matters. It is the opposite. It is a vision of radical interdependence. Think of a majestic symphony. You can hear the violin, the cello, the flute. Each has its own distinct, beautiful sound. But where is the symphony? It is not in the violin alone, nor the flute, nor even in the sheet of music. The symphony exists only in the dynamic, interwoven relationship of all the parts. It is empty of a separate, independent existence. It is wholly dependent on the instruments, the musicians, the composer, the acoustics of the hall, the ears of the listeners. If you remove any one element, the specific symphony you are hearing ceases to be. Now, see yourself as that symphony. What you call me is a magnificent, fleeting convergence of body, senses, memories, thoughts, culture, relationships, the air you breathe, the food you eat. There is no solid, separate self-note to be found. There is only this incredible, ever-changing harmony of causes and conditions. This is emptiness. It is not a void. It is a fullness of relationship. Seeing this doesn't diminish you, it liberates you from the lonely prison of separateness. It reveals that you are not a solo performer, but part of the vast, cosmic orchestra. Your peace is intertwined with the peace of all beings. Your suffering is not solely yours. This understanding is the foundation of boundless compassion. This leads us to a practice that can be done in any moment, the cultivation of loving kindness, or metta. It is the intentional softening of the heart, a conscious wish for well-being. Let me share an original story. In a city of stone and noise, there was a man who worked as a stonecutter. His job was hard, his hands were rough, and his heart had grown hard to match. He saw the world as a place of sharp edges and burdens. One afternoon, he found a small, discarded clay pot with a crack in it. Almost as a joke, he placed a handful of dry soil inside it and dropped in a single seed from his lunch apple. He left it on his windowsill. Every day, out of a faint curiosity, he would sprinkle a few drops of his drinking water into the pot. He didn't expect anything. But one morning, a tiny, green shoot appeared. Something in the stonecutter's chest, something long dormant, stirred. That tiny, vulnerable life, growing in a broken pot because of his few drops of water, became his secret. His attention, which had been fixed on cutting and shaping dead stone, now had a living focal point. He found himself caring for it gently. His hands, so used to force, learned a new touch. The day the seedling produced its first true leaf, the stonecutter sat before it and felt a warmth spread through his chest, a simple, wordless gladness for this little life. He had, without realizing it, been practicing metta. He had offered consistent, gentle attention and care to something outside himself. And in doing so, he had watered a seed within his own heart. The world didn't change. His job didn't change. But his relationship to it began to soften at the edges. Metta often starts small, like watering a single seed. You begin with yourself, or with someone easy to love, or even with a plant or a pet. You consciously offer the wish, may you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. You don't have to feel a rush of emotion. You are just planting the seed of the intention. Over time, this practice reshapes the landscape of the heart. It replaces habitual irritation with a default of goodwill. It is the active, gentle force that mends the illusion of separation revealed by emptiness. Now, we must address a practical matter. With all these teachings, mindfulness, compassion, generosity, how do we integrate them into a life that is busy, demanding, and full of responsibilities? We can't always retreat to a cave or a meditation cushion. I remember a single parent who came to me, exhausted. Between work, the kids, the house, there's no time for peace, she said. My spiritual practice is a failure. I asked her about her morning routine. She described a chaotic hour of making lunches, finding lost shoes, and barking orders. I suggested one tiny change. When you pour the orange juice tomorrow, I said, just pour the orange juice. For those 10 seconds, let your whole world be the glug of the liquid, the weight of the carton, the color in the glass. That's it. She laughed but agreed. The next week, she reported back, amazed. That 10-second ritual had become an anchor. She began to find other, pouring the juice, moments, feeling the warm water on her hands while washing a dish, truly seeing her child's face for a moment before school, feeling the steering wheel in her hands at a red light. She hadn't added a new activity to her life. She had infused her existing life with moments of full, awake presence. The sacred is not somewhere else. It is hidden in the mundane. The Buddha's path is not about adding a spiritual layer on top of your life. It is about waking up within the life you already have. The parent changing a diaper can be as mindful as the monk on the cushion. The office worker at a desk can cultivate as much compassion as a caregiver in a clinic. Integration is not about doing more. It's about being more fully in what you are already doing. This is the essence of the Buddha's middle way. It is not a path of extreme renunciation for most of us. It is a path of bringing balance, awareness, and ethical integrity into the very heart of our ordinary, beautiful, messy human lives. It is about being fully human, and in that full humanity, discovering something transcendent. We have walked a long path together through these teachings, from the simplicity of a single breath to the vastness of interconnectedness. We've met the woodcarver, the fisherman, the glassblower, the gardeners, and the symphony. We've explored the practices of listening, letting go, and loving kindness. But all of this leads to one final, gentle understanding: the path never really ends. It is a continuous homecoming. The Buddha's wisdom is not a distant peak you finally conquer, after which you can stop walking. It is the ground itself, appearing anew with each step. It is the quality of attention you bring to this breath, this feeling, this conversation, this challenge. The journey and the destination are the same. Every moment of remembering, of softening when you are tight, of pausing when you are reactive, of offering kindness when you are inclined to withhold, is itself the awakening. You are not practicing to become peaceful someday. In the very act of mindful, compassionate presence, you are peace, right now. Think of learning to play a melody on an instrument. At first, you are awkward. You think about each note, your fingers fumble. But with practice, the melody begins to flow. One day, you are no longer playing the notes, you are the music. The separation between player and song dissolves. The spiritual path is like this. You begin by consciously practicing mindfulness, compassion, patience. You fumble. You forget. But you return. And gradually, these qualities cease to be techniques you apply and become the very song your life is singing. You don't have compassion, you are compassionate presence. You don't do mindfulness, you are awake awareness. This is the natural state, remembered. So, as we close, I offer you not an ending, but a new beginning right where you are. You don't need to go anywhere else or be anyone else. The entire teaching is contained in this very moment. Feel your breath. Notice the space around you. In this simple awareness, everything you need is already here. The honey has always been dripping. The sky has always been vast enough to hold every storm. You are that awareness. You are that sky. Thank you for sharing this time in Monk's Moon Temple. May you walk gently, with an open heart. May you remember your true nature, again and again. And may your life be a peaceful, compassionate blessing to all you meet. Rest now. The journey continues, beautifully, with your very next breath.